Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Perpetuality. We've got the Sinn U50 here today. It's not new. It's been around for about a year. It is the smaller version of the Sinn U1 Diver that has been around for some time now. Thank you, Bernie, for lending this watch in for me to enjoy and experience. Now, I have an Instagram account where I share my watch photography and all the watches I've come across. If you like the work here and you want to check out my content there, I'd really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for following along. Now, the Sinn, by the brand itself, is an interesting brand. I've always been interested in German watches for the fact that they use technology to really enhance the durability of their cases. They've used selected materials such as submarine steel to harden not only the case but the bezel as well. And this Sinn U50 here does have all of those features. It does also include the Sellita SW300. Let's find out if it's really worth the money. There's a wonderful article written by Matt at a blog to watch that details the hardness value of watches and why you should care about that. Now, that's interesting I note this is because when we think about the Sinn, a lot of the tegimented steel and technology that they've implemented is to provide for a more harder wearing steel. Now, hardness is actually measured by HV value or hardness Vickers. And in the terms of stainless steel and the regular watches you see out there, they range anywhere between 150 to 200 on the hardness scale. And as we move further down the scale from titanium, valued at 350, to the hardest material known to man, diamond, with 10,000 on the hardness Vickers scale. That is pretty much the value of what, typically speaking, the higher the value on the hardness Vickers scale, the tougher that material is to resist wear. And when we move down the variety of watches over to Sinn, how hard is Sinn's tegimented steel? That is the question. It is actually valued at 1200 on the hardness Vickers scale. And that actually puts it quite in line, meaning that it is actually 3 times tougher than regular 316L steel, and only beaten by the Bremont Altisi, which is the 2000 hardness Vickers scale tough chronograph that they offer in their lineup. Understanding Sinn and where they place the U50 is important because it's not a new watch in any way. It was actually designed off the U1, which has been around for quite some time. Almost a decade, maybe even a little bit more. The U1 and the U50 are a family of dive watches that extend over many generations, and as you see through Sinn's website, there are so many different varieties of this watch and different straps and different bezel combinations. It's easy to get lost in Sinn's catalog here. But we'll focus on the U50. Now, the U50, being a pared down version, slimmed down version of the U1, is important for the brand because it represents a shift into the right direction, pandering to what the demographic wants right now, which are smaller watches. The Sinn U50 is quite a wearable piece, considering that the slimmed down case size is meant to appeal to a broader variety of wrists. Now, my wrist is 6¼ inch in diameter, and being 41 millimeters in diameter, this watch, it does sit nicely, and the case has enough taper to the lugs that it hugs the wrist flatly, so you wouldn't have a problem if you have a wrist that is smaller than mine. Now, I think you can go down to maybe about 5.8 inches in diameter if your wrist is that small, and you'd still be able to wear it. Mind you, the lug-to-lug length being 47 millimeters lends a lot to the wearability of this watch. It's quite good, very thin and light on the wrist. The Sinn U50 has a very interesting dial with these smokestack shaped hands. Yes, they remind me of a smokestack of a factory or a large cargo ship. They're painted in white with high gloss red at the center, and the second's hand has a red rectangle, then painted in the last pretty much 80% of the hand is red. It's a very interesting look. I've not seen this before. Mind you, the case of the Sinn is quite thin, 11.15 millimeters thick with drilled lug holes. This makes this watch very much a versatile piece and one of Sinn's lighter, more wearable pieces in their lineup, especially for a dive watch. All things considered, the thinness and lightweight feeling of this watch is really a strong point. This particular Sinn has a hardened black bezel that is actually a hardened PVD layer that sits on top of a tegimented surface, with the base material being steel underneath. How does the bezel feel in the hand? Well, being 120 clicks, it's what you expect of a premium dive watch. There is, however, a bit of backplay when you push the bezel back upon its clockwise direction, and I suspect this is because there's room for it to be cleaned for water to flow through. The high contrast dial of the Sinn U50 is kind of its party piece. The indices have this bright white rectangular design, with the 3, 6, and 9 offset by larger rectangles. Only the date is separated from that look, with the date having a blackened date wheel. Very legible. Overall, the printing and execution of the dial has been proven to be tremendously sharp. There is a bit of spillage of material at 12 o'clock for the register there, but it's hardly noticeable until you go under more than 2 times magnification. Now, being a German watch manufacturer, you'd think that there's a lot of attention to detail to the dial, and there is. The hand stack is extremely tight, no defects that I can see with my macro lens. The high gloss red paint reminds me of just red gumdrops in the way that they have this sheen to them. It's delightful to look at. U50 automatic, 500 meters, all printed extremely sharp, made in Germany, emblazoned on the dial. The dial details here are near flawless. I'm very impressed. The lume of the U50 is quite good. It uses superluminova. And mind you, the superluminova that's used in here does carry a blue hue to it. I feel like the lume has been generously applied to the indices, and the hands, being pretty much 80% lume, leaves for a very high contrast look. And I feel like this is one of the best looking dials on a dive watch with the lume application that's been used here. There's a generous amount of lume at the 12 o'clock pip too. Overall, this is one of the best lumed watches I've seen. My final impressions on the Sinn U50 has been overall very, very positive. I think for the price point that it's asking, it is a very competitive watch. Some may view it to be a little bit overpriced, and they're not easy to come by as well. I feel like there is a bit of a wait list to get some of these at your Sinn dealer too. Mind you, the one I have here on the leather strap does not normally come with a leather strap. This is actually from Sinn themselves, but belonging to the Sinn 104, a pilot's watch in their family of watches. Now, I have felt like this particular hardened steel case with this black bezel to be a handsome combination, and the overall value for money has been impressive. I do want to say thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I will most definitely catch you in the next one.